Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with really cool people about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate personal and professional change. I'm Linda Bucher, Master Life Coach, author, and speaker, and I love helping smart, passionate people to lighten their load and unleash their gifts on the world and live joyful, balanced lives. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by wellness warrior Jillian Miner, and our topic is how to strengthen your immunity for longevity. And this conversation is worth your while if you'd love to love better, be more present, and add more life back into your years, because it all starts with your immune system, which lives in your gut. So today we're going to cover things that depress your immune system, so you'll know what they are. We're going to talk about the benefits of actually strengthening your immunity, and then we'll talk specifically about what you can do to strengthen your immunity and what you can start doing right now. So hi, Jillian. Thank you for being with me today. How are you?
I'm great, Linda. Thank you so much. I love your energy. I'm so excited to join you this afternoon.
Thank you. I appreciate it for sure. So Jillian, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what you do and who you do it for?
Absolutely. Linda, again, I'm Jillian and I am a wellness warrior. I love to talk about nutrition and how eating the right kinds of food, fueling your body well, can really help change your life. It can help improve what's going on, not just in your gut, and that affects everything. I love, love, love to talk about food, like I said, mood, and poop. And I like to help younger families who are maybe getting started growing their family. And I like to work with health professionals too. Maybe those health professionals who have helped you find your health. Those are the types of people I'd love to connect with.
Beautiful. Wonderful. All right. So let's kick it off with talking about the things that actually depress your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So you told me there was like a couple of 3 S's. I think it's 3 S's.
The S words.
Mm-hmm. The S words. Yeah. What are these S words? Tell me about those.
When we first talked, Linda, we were relating very well to one of these S's, and I'm pretty sure it was it sleep? Was that the S word?
Well, I'm good with sleep. The thing I'm bad with is a different S word.
That's right. It wasn't stress either.
No, I'm pretty good. I don't really, but being a life coach, I know how to remove stress.
Manage a little bit, but it must have been that third S.
Yeah, it was the third S.
The sugar. What was sugar?
Sugar. I love sugar.
Who doesn't?
I don't overeat sugar, but it's just makes me happy. Chocolate makes me happy. Hot tamales make me happy. Nerds, they all make me happy.
Literally, it's the chemical process in your brain when you're eating sugar. It produces that dopamine, that hit, that rush of happy energy. That's what's happening. That's why you are so happy when you're eating it. And that's okay. It's okay. Yeah. We're going to talk, I think, a little bit more today about moderation, in moderation. Yes. So you can enjoy those things that you like, a little bit of sugar with a bit of all of the other good things to help balance it all out.
If like, I like broccoli. If there was dopamine happening with broccoli, I'd be eating way more of that. I'd be like, oh, where's that broccoli?
Perhaps it might be the way you're cooking it or the time of day you're eating it, because that also affects how you're absorbing the nutrients from your food and how you're enjoying them. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about, you said 3 S's already. Things that depress your immune system are stress, sleep, and I'm going to guess that's lack of or interrupted sleep or just not good quality sleep, and sugar. Okay.
Yes.
What else would depress your immune system?
Absolutely. How about, like I said, a poor diet, right? Not the right nutrients, maybe intolerances in your diet, things that you're not aware of or things that you're eating that really aggravate you. It could also be that you're not moving your mass enough, right? You're not getting up.
Right. Yeah.
We're behind this, right? Too much of the time. Or
and I don't think people really equate, sitting with your immune system.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You don't realize that.
I think we think of, lack of sleep, like if you get worn down, then that's going to make you, like, people get sick more often, right? They can't really handle things. And I think nutrition, people kind of get that too. Most people know that. And they know that when they're stressed out, they maybe overeat, undereat, eat the wrong things. So I think most people can recognize, and even the sugar. But this food intolerances and sitting, those two things I think a lot of people aren't aware of. I have a big intolerance for gluten. And it was fascinating because it wasn't that I was having gut issues. I was having a high amount of pain in some herniated discs that I had. And I thought, well, that's just what happens when you have herniated discs. And I went to the spine surgeon and she's like, oh, I'm going to stick a little needle in there about every 6 months and then it'll feel better. And I'm like, I don't want a needle in my spine. And I happened to be at the chiropractor, and this particular chiropractor was he studied like kinesiology and neurology. And basically he was doing some cool things that had my body telling him where to adjust. Like, oh, Linda, put your fingers on your collarbone here, and then I'm going to test the strength in your leg. And it was amazing. And he did all these things and he was adjusting me. And then he said, I got to tell you, there's 2 things that I think your body doesn't like. And I'll tell you why I think that. He said, first of all, your body's telling me your thyroid's a little unhappy. He said, and I can't tell you for sure, I'm not a thyroid doctor. He said, but 90% of the time it's a gluten intolerance that can lead to thyroid problems. So you might have a gluten intolerance and we should test for that. And then egg whites was the other thing. He said, that one's not as bad, but I don't think your body likes egg whites. So I wasn't going to see him for a month. In the meantime, my best friend, I have another friend who's a nutritionist. They all keep saying, Linda, you got to get off gluten. It's just, your body just doesn't like it. Our bodies used to be able to tolerate that hundreds of years ago. We can't anymore. So I said, all right, so I got off gluten. Well, that back pain, that lower back pain, the L4 and L5 that had been killing me for 2 years, 24/7, the pain was gone. I went back to the chiropractor. I'm like, why doesn't my back hurt anymore? He goes, well, I'm good at my job, but what else did you do? I said, because it's always hurt, and I said, well, I gave up gluten. He goes, that's it. He said, your tolerance to pain changes when your body's inflamed. These inflammatory substances, and what's inflammatory to you might not be inflammatory to someone else, but gluten is notoriously inflammatory, that it makes pain that should feel like about this painful, feel this painful.
Right. Can I just talk about your inflammatory response real quick, Linda?
Yes,
we need it, right? When we get a cut or we get a sprain, you need that inflammation to tackle the healing process. Even when you have a headache, well, maybe it's there for a reason. However, chronic inflammation of the gut is stimulated by things like gluten, and gluten is a protein. So that's why not everyone can handle it, because it just takes that much more and it causes that much more inflammation. So the point of healing your gut, with starting it with your gut health to help improve immune health, is that once our gut is healthy, we can tackle that. We can digest it a little better. We can eliminate the toxins, because when somebody like you has a gluten intolerance, it's toxic. So our body has to eliminate it. And if we're not well, we won't eliminate it well.
Yes. So if I hear what you're saying, if I really heal my gut, I may be able to eat gluten without having
here and there. Right.
Right.
And then maybe that's out when you're enjoying yourself. You don't have to overthink it, or you don't have to stress yourself it's a treat, right? It's not a cheat, it's a treat. Right. Right. And it doesn't have to be your lifestyle. It can be, okay, you've eliminated it. Well, why do you have to come back to it if you found something else, something that satisfies you, that's nutritious? Why not? Why not just stick to the lifestyle that you found and that works for you?
Right. Good. Awesome. All right, let's move on to the benefits of strengthening our immunity. So these are things I'm not sure everyone's really familiar with. So why don't you go ahead and list a few of those?
Sure thing. When we think of our immunity, maybe we think of, oh, I don't want to get sick, right? I want to be able to stay healthy and function well. At least that's what I think when I am focusing on my immune health. However, it can also look like, well, I've got that afternoon slump. I'm feeling fatigue throughout my day. I wake up tired. So you could, when you improve your immunity, you could ease fatigue. You could eliminate brain fog. You could increase your performance in any way, shape, or form that you're thinking. You can just feel better overall. Fill in the blank. because it really affects us all differently. You were saying your lower back was hurting. I was fatigued for sure when my gut was chronically inflamed, when my immune system was down. And it could be someone who's always getting a headache, always getting a cold, needs those flu shots or whatever. Like I said, fill in the blank. It really depends on you, because every body is different,
Right.
and right, but the benefits are endless. It could be a toothache, it could be a sprain, something that's happening all of the time that you don't think about, but it could, and improving your immune system can help eliminate those things, that chronic ache,
Wow.
pain.
That's a lot of benefits. So longevity, right? Obviously, but not just living longer, but like what you said, adding life back to your years.
Yes.
Because someone told me something once and I really loved it. They said, being sick and getting old are not necessarily, they don't have to be correlated. We correlate that like, oh, when we get old, things are going to hurt. We're going to get sick. We're going to need, like that, that's going to happen. But that should not be a foregone conclusion, because our bodies are designed to heal themselves.
Right.
And when we live well through better gut health, then, we can grow old gracefully and more healthily.
Right. Longevity. Exactly. Adding that life back to your years. You want to, age and age and age, and then wake up on the other side, right? That's what we would all like to do.
In your sleep, feeling great and no regrets, right?
No regrets. That's what I was going to say. It's living this lifestyle, eating the way that fuels your body for the rest of your life, moving the way that feels good for the rest of your life. It shouldn't really be a program or a fad. You can do some things if you need to clean up, if you need to detox quick or do a cleanse. I recommend that seasonally. However, if you can eat this way healthily, if you can move this way and respond to stress this way for the rest of your life, that's the lifestyle. That's the diet you want to take on, you want to consider.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it's about making small changes, right? So let's talk a little bit about what specifically people can do to strengthen their immunity. So I know one of the things you mentioned to me is we can improve our response to stress. How can we do that?
I used to say it's how I react to stress. And I spoke with someone who was talking about being present in love. And I'm like, oh, I love that. And she said, well, instead of saying react, why not say respond? Because it's less reactive, right? So when we're responding to stress, because we'll always have stress. Distress is the agitative kind. Eustress is the good kind. When we're working out, we're stressing our bodies out in the right way.
Right.
It's our response to it. If we can check in and say, okay, how is this really gonna kill me in the long run? Is this really gonna upset me this much? Can I come down from that energetic high of overreacting, of our response to the stress, and can we make it so we can handle it? Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's your mood, like we were talking about, but it could also be your nutrient intake, like you said about your intolerances. Well, if you know you're going to react or respond poorly to gluten, why not eliminate it? Why not eat it at a different time of the day? Or why not eat it with something that complements it so you can digest it better?
Absolutely. Those are really good things to think about. And of course, responding to stress, that's like my forte, right? As a master life coach, I help people live peaceful, balanced lives. And that happens when you can still be the calm amidst the shitstorm. Like it's still going on, right? The world's still spinning and it's spinning off kilter half the time. And people are walking around freaking out and letting everybody know about their freakouts. I teach people how to release the stressors that they've been holding on to, that are actually holding on to them for decades, and how to be immune to the things that you can easily be immune to. And it really has to do with control, understanding what you control and what's not actually in control. Is like, for instance, anything that comes out of anyone else's mouth ever. Right? What happens in the news ever, not in your control, right? Whether the sun shines or doesn't, not in your control. So, relinquishing control and focusing on what is within your control. And what is within your control is not believing everything you think. Just because a thought comes by Doesn't mean it's truth, right? Regardless of the shitstorm that's going on, just because it comes your way, your interpretation might not be truth. It might be fear. And what you mentioned, I loved you said about being present in love. We humans cannot be in love and fear at the same time. It's actually impossible. So the more time we can spend in that feeling of love, in that feeling of gratitude, in the present moment, then we don't feel that fear. And we don't feel that fear, we don't have those amount of stressors. So it's really not that complicated to remove stressors. I say that stress is inevitable. Being stressed out is optional.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, yeah. So, okay. So back to strengthening our immunity. So improving your stress response, healing your gut. Obviously, I love that you brought up ways to heal your gut. And we can talk about that just real quickly in a minute. But I also want to say improving your sleep. And when you reduce the stressors and, that monkey mind that keeps you awake all night long, that's what I help people with. It's like, that monkey can go to town. We can't hear him because we're sleeping peacefully because we don't believe what he says anymore, So, and also a lot of people don't take care of themselves because they don't have an underlying belief that they deserve it, that they're worth it, that they're good enough. And that's definitely my territory too. So once you have healed your sense of worthiness, then it's so much easier to take care of yourself, easier to make these changes to heal your gut, because now you're worth it, right? Because it's easy to do things for other people. A lot of people were like, yes, I'll help you, I'll do this, but we don't always help ourselves, and we don't understand where that resistance comes from, why we're unable to help ourselves, right? And so it's usually because we're missing something. So that's why we turn to the cookies, or we turn to the big dinner, and we have 4 helpings when we only really wanted 1. It's because there's something missing. And I remember, it's like kind of a fun story. My son was eating really clean when he was about 16. And because he had gained a little weight and he wasn't happy about it. So he said, I'm going to eat like lean proteins and vegetables, Mom. And he is so good at when he decides to do that, he stays on it. Like he's much about 100 times more disciplined than I am. And his girlfriend broke up with him, and I picked him up from work one day, and he worked at a supermarket, and he came out of the supermarket elbow deep in a can of Pringles. Like the can was there, and he was like, that's right. My daughter was in the back seat. And I said to him, I said, Bud, you were eating so clean. Oh, what's up with the Pringles? And he said, I miss Kayla. And I said, is she in that can? He said, no, she's not. And he put the lid on. He goes, here, Jess, you can have the rest of these. All he needed was that little reminder of the thing that he was missing was not food, right? So the mindset around how we eat and whether we are deserving of being good to our bodies, that's like fundamental to making these changes, to healing your gut, to improving your sleep, which is something I know you're about to talk about as well.
I talk a little bit about community, and I love to talk about your gut community, or the bacteria that lives in your gut. There's also bacteria on your skin and your brain, on your eyes, your reproductive system. And there's a community that's working with your body to keep you healthy, to keep you fit and active and focused. And I like to think of it as, if I can invest in myself and in the community of my body, of the microorganisms that are making this amazing machine work well, then I'll be better wife, a better mom, a better employee. I'll be better in where I live and where I play and where I love. So I like that word community. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes we don't think we're worthy of it. And I think we're number one. We should always be our number one. My husband says, you're my number one. I'm like, well, you're my number 2, because I'm my number 1 and the kids are number 3. But it's true. We really need to be able to invest now on our health, so we're not spending money later on an illness.
Right. And, I've seen my parents and in-laws go through some really difficult illnesses. And I don't want to be looking back going, I could have prevented this if I had just healed my gut. Right.
Yes.
So what's something that people can do right now, a small change that they don't have to feel fully worthy yet, like all these things that I can help them get with, or you can help them with, something small that people can do today, give me like a tip or it.
Well, you'll probably know this one, and I'm going to say, how's your water intake?
Look at this. I got
Cheers.
two. I got
Right.
two.
But maybe somebody was rolling their eyes. They're like, whatever, Jillian, like that's a given. I'm not drinking enough water. You're probably not drinking enough water. Everything in your body needs so much water. The other thing is, are you eating enough fat? And
Right.
that's so controversial because people are like, oh, I can't. It's got to be low fat. I can't. Cholesterol. Everything's kind of scary. Well, think about your brain, and your brain tissue is fatty tissue. And if you're
Right.
not fueling your brain with good, healthy, whole vegetable fat, mostly, some animal fat's okay too. Not
Right.
the sugary
You're
kind.
talking like avocados.
Yeah, olive oil, olives, things like that. Nuts are really good. Ever look at a walnut? What does it look like?
It looks like a
Your
brain.
brain.
Yeah.
That's what I feel, right? So if you can think of things like that, drinking more water, eating more fat, and that P word too, the protein. It's really important to get so much good protein. And I'm going to say more vegetable than not. It's great to supplement with animal protein if you're into it, but if you can get a lot of your diet from a plant-based diet, you're doing it.
So tell me, what are some high protein foods that are vegetable based?
Legumes. Do you know those?
Yes, my body does not tolerate beans as well as I would like it to.
It could mean that your gut needs a little healing, Linda.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if my body's like, oh, black beans, no,
Yeah.
then it's probably like too much fiber all at one time. That's like, I'm not used to getting this much fiber.
Fiber's real. So many people are deficient in fiber.
Yeah.
And I let my third word, that tagline at the beginning, food, mood, and poop. That's one of my favorite things. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 5-month-old son, and we talk a lot about poop in our household. And it is so important to know and to realize like what's going on and how often you're doing it. And now that fiber might, if you could, we'll talk later, Linda, about what you personally need.
I think you should do like write an article about what your poop will tell you.
Yes.
Right?
Oh gosh, there's so much that your poop tells you. But protein in vegetables, it's not as complete as animal protein. So you do have to complement it. Like the legumes are really good, but there's protein and all kinds of different things. You just wouldn't think about it. Like you need to get more root vegetables. They don't necessarily have a ton of protein, but it's all so good to, how people say eat the rainbow? Have you ever heard of
Yes.
that? Well, make your plate as colorful as you can and you'll hit some protein for sure. It's just really awesome to think that way.
Yeah, that's great. My significant other eats root vegetables constantly. I mean, we seriously in our house go through a giant onion every day because he puts onions on everything. He probably eats about 4 to 5 radishes every day. He's cutting up turnips. He loves to chew on turnips.
That's great.
So those are like his go-to, and then of course his go-to snack besides potato chips, so that's another thing, is different colored peppers. We cut them up in container and then snack on those peppers. And he's way better at it than I am because I like carrots, probably because they have sugar in them. There I am with the sugar.
That's okay though. That's way better than something else, Linda. Those carrots, eat it, put it in you.
It is. Yeah. So yeah, wow. Well, this has been very insightful. So thank you, Jillian. I really appreciate you being here with me today on Conversations Worth Your While. Now, I have a resource that I share in the description of the YouTube video. And so I'll tell everyone about that in a minute, but what do you have to share with our guests?
Well, I'd love to offer you a 45-minute consult, complimentary. And Linda mentioned before, she's like, okay, that's a long consult. And what are they going to get from it? Right. So what do they want to get from this one-on-one conversation? And it can be whatever kind of conversation you like. You're going to get some quick tips that you can implement today, this next meal. Start right now, and you'll probably wake up tomorrow feeling a little better. And it does have to do with food because, like I said, I'm a nutritionist, so that's what I focus on. But it's and it's custom. So it's very different for everybody. Everybody is different. But like I said, you can start it right now. That's what you're going to take away. And then we can, like I said, customize something for the long run to help you eat like this, eat well for the rest of your life.
Right. Beautiful. That's great. Okay. So I'll put your contact information into the description of the YouTube video for our audience. And I guess like, I'm like, which way should I go today? I might go just both ways. So first of all, I talked about how I can help people through mindset to reduce the actual stress in their life, and by reducing things that are outside of the control, and by improving their sense of worthiness, and not being in lack, because when we're in lack, that's when we're eating all the bad stuff, right? So I absolutely do that. And so on my website, I have a contact us form, and anyone who would like to just talk to me about that, reach out, send me a little email through the contact us form, and we can talk about that. But I like to talk about readiness. Okay. So I remember years ago when I was thinking about getting rid of gluten, because my best friend had said her whole family healed their guts so well, and that was one of the main things that they did. Now they also gave up dairy, but not ice cream. They did not give up ice cream, but they eat fake ice cream because it's not dairy, but they still didn't give up the sugar, I guess, but they don't eat very much sugar. So and so I knew I should do this. But for a very long time, I was in this place where I was like, I reckon I ought to maybe someday think about giving up gluten. And so that happens. That's like when you're not ready, but you know you're going to do it at some point.
Right.
You just have to get good with it. You have to like be okay with it. So I have this quiz that is I call it, where are you on the island of playing it safe? Because that's not the place from which your dreams, your aspiration, your goals can be realized. Your health goals, your business goals, your personal goals, right? You cannot realize it if you're on this island of playing it safe, where you're all like, what's out there? I don't know, right? So there's 3 stages people have to go through to get off this island of playing it safe, so they can get to the point where they can actually make the changes in a peaceful, fun way that they want to see in their lives. And if they're not ready, they're not going to do it. So how ready are you? So I have a fun quiz, and I call it the little quiz for going big. And if you take the quiz, it'll tell you whether you are an island dweller, a dock seeker, or an adventurer. So I will also put into the description a little bit about like where you can go to just take that quiz real quick. It helps you understand where you're ready when it comes to making change in your life. So once someone is ready to make these changes, and I'm getting closer to making sugar changes, although I make it sound like I eat a lot of sugar. I really don't. I just love sugar. But I don't, I don't eat, because of gluten, right? I'm not eating donuts and cakes and pies. Although I have been known to pop a marshmallow or 2 when I have a sweet tooth.
Oh, that's like
2 marshmallows, even though I know that's terrible for me, but it's just,
you can make your own.
Oh, that's probably a better idea. All right. And I use Truvia for my sweetener and in my coffee every day. And I might have a little popsicle twice a week, maybe something like that, a little low calorie, 30, 40 calorie sugar popsicle, maybe 1 scoop of ice cream. In the summer, I eat more ice cream. But I don't think it's terrible, but I know it could be better. However, maybe if I were to heal my entire gut, then I could tolerate that sugar. And it might not be much of a change at all. So I'm very interested, and I'm going to reach out to you for sure. And I hope that everybody in our audience does as well. And so remember, everybody in the audience, please open the description where you'll find some free resources, some gifts from Jillian and from me, and our contact information. So if you want to schedule that consult with Jillian, you can do that. If you want to schedule a consult with me, you can do that too. So once again, thank you, Jillian Miner, and thank you, the audience, for being here today, sharing your time with me. And so until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it has ignited.